Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first week of playoffs here for the Focus Propel series. We're going to be covering the game of Omega Gaming Alpha versus Active Rush. Interestingly, Omega Gaming Alpha ending almost not making it into playoffs in Division 1, where they started off at the top, and Active Rush finishing just second in Division 4. My name is Diatrapa, and I am joined by Rudude. Rudude, I'm excited for this matchup, and I'm really curious to see if Omega Gaming Alpha can bring it back now that the roster is complete.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we've been playing with the Omega Gaming Alpha side rather. We've been playing with a substitute mid laner for the last 2 weeks. Did have Princeton swapping in place of Pride's, but they are back to their full completed roster. The roster that was undefeated going throughout the regular season, so to speak. The first 5 games they were 5-0. And they've now got Pride's back, so back to the undefeated matchup against Active Rush here.
Yeah, and it's interesting because certainly watching those games, I was no Princeton hater. I really thought that he was actually doing quite well, and I'm curious to see whether that was a thing where they're facing off against much better teams in the latter half, or whether it was actually just a question of team synergy. And Prides is really what they're going to need to pull them together.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll have to see as the game develops. So far, though, Diatripa, we have got a draft on our hands, and the first pick, Braum from Omega Gaming Alpha, the
Oh,
active rush counter special. Obviously, VT Nelson, I am more than aware is a Braum aficionado. So taking that away from him is definitely going to be worthwhile. Not sure if it was worth the first pick, but obviously Omega Gaming Alpha feel that it's worth it. Active Rush respond with two safe blind picks of their own.
yeah, and I'm actually surprised that we see the takeaway on the Braum, just because it's not a super power pick right now, and they do give over the Ezreal Oriana, and then taking back things like the Lee Sin Sion. Don't actually feel like they're getting the better end of this draft right now.
No, it's kind of a really weird draft that we've got played out right here because typically in the first sort of set of picks you see bot laners and junglers, for example, and at the very least you see picks get matched. Currently, we've got 6 champions and 5 roles selected. I assume, barring any amazing flexes coming out from either of the sides, but we've got top lane jungle and support from Omega Gaming Alpha, and then Active Rush responding with the jungler in Hecarim, but then also blind picking the AD carry and the mid laner taking the Orianna away. So the bans in this second phase are really open to interpretation. You can ban away a lot of different areas if you're either side, sort of a wide range to pick out from.
Yeah, and blind picking the Oriana is going to be a safer choice, and I can only imagine that Omega Gaming Alpha have something prepared for this because Kai'Sa's kind of the obvious ban as you do go into the second round and Ezreal and Ashe are already away. She is that sort of third tier that we fall back on. And given that they picked up the Braum early, there must be something that they're going for in that bot lane. I'd be a little disappointed if we just saw something standard slotted in.
Yeah, and at this point, what left is standard because Aphelios got nerfed, right, and then patch before that, so was Varus. So Alpha really do have to scrape the bottom of the AD carry pool right here. Maybe
Hmm.
even see something a little bit off the wall, like a mage bot, for example, could come out if they've got that prepared. We'll have to wait and see though because they have a active rush half drafted in the Nautilus, so they're going to be able to go for a lot of aggression down on the bot side. Maybe be able to punish 2 versus 2 with the Ezreal. However, you do think it's going to be a bit more
Ooh.
difficult, and that's going to be the Xayah Soraka locked in. Have we
Okay.
missed something? No,
I
no.
think that's Soraka top. Or no, Soraka mid? That can't be Soraka mid.
They locked
Am
it in
I
with plenty of time to spare. I mean, I think
Is
we've
there
just
is
got
there
a.
anything in the
There's nothing. I think we've got a
Okay.
Soraka and a Braum.
Okay, I'm excited for it. I'm always open to being shown what new picks can do. And certainly Soraka top at least was something that was really viable just a few patches ago. Um, with Scion though, I'm really
I mean, so
I'm
so
drawing a
Scion
lot of
has
question
been
marks.
Scion has been used mid lane as well as sort of one of those just neutralizing tank threats to be able to go sort of even with the Orianna in the mid lane. I guess they've flexed or they've done a weird flex putting the Scion mid lane without seeing what was going to be matching the Soraka top lane, and it looks like the Silas is going to be the answer to that question. So Silas into Soraka feels like at least once we get past those first couple of levels, that Silas is really going to be able to run over this lane. That is just how I perceive the matchup to go. It might not be how it actually plays out. Maybe it's even Soraka mid, or maybe we've got a really eccentric Braum flex, but I really doubt the Braum flex is going to come out.
No, no, I think.
As you mentioned, Soraka is a viable top laner, or has been in patches gone by, and we'll have to find out in this game whether or not that she is. Because remember, everybody at home, this is a single elimination tournament in Focus. So if these guys lose this best of three, then that is the end of their playoff run as well. So putting everything they've got out in this first game of the series because they really have to.
Yeah, fortunately though is a best of three, so that there's certainly the room for them to try and experiment with something against Active Rush, especially if they feel like it's something they've been confident in. And when I look at this Omega Gaming roster, or roster champions now, we do know that Rapid Fire has been a really big part of this team, in terms of not only how they play through, but in terms of the damage share, is putting up relatively large numbers, and has sort of been an AD carry across Omega Gaming that is doing quite well. And I see this comp as almost an ode to that.
Yeah.
This is very much a protect the Zaya comp. She's going to live, and they want her to be getting those items, getting ahead, and being able to melt people on the side of Active Rush.
Yeah, exactly. The Zaya is really their only source of damage as we move into the later stages of the game. Yes, Sion has some absurd early damages. So does Lee Sin with the early strength that he provides, but they're going to be segueing into a position to enable this Zaya in the later stages. And you feel like if the Zaya has a difficult time, um, in this game. For example, getting dove on by Hecarim with a ball on, getting dove on by Silas as well. The peel from Alpha has to be there, and the positioning from Rapid Fire really has to be on top form for them to be able to initiate and engage. Because as soon as Rapid Fire dies on this Zaya, they have no more damage. The team fight's over.
Yeah, and as much as I was looking at perhaps the mid lane to be the thing that brought Omega Gaming Alpha together and into this series strong, it looks like it's going to be an entirely bot lane focus. And for the side of Active Rush, I actually feel like they're pretty well rounded. They have relatively strong lanes in every position. Should be a farm lane. Whoever's going up against the Soraka, like you mentioned, maybe Silas having a little bit of kill pressure, but she is really good at negating those. And Active Rush should be able to farm really safely with things like the Orianna and the Ezreal. With the promise of a Hecarim who's going to have the time to build that Trinity Force and gank at his leisure.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got a Soraka mid here, Diatripa. It's not going to be the
Oh,
Soraka top lane. Prides has locked in the Soraka in the mid lane to match up against the Orianna, which makes the top lane matchup a little, I would say, more even as we go a little bit later into the game. But this mid lane is sort of, I would assume, a take on a Karma, which obviously was banned away by Omega Gaming themselves, however. But either way, you know, an adapted Karma 2.0, for example. And if they were going for that style, I feel like I'd have liked a Morgana more. So maybe they're looking for more a really heavy reliance on the heals and the ultimate from the Soraka that she can provide.
yeah, and Soraka, I think, is a little bit of a question mark because you also have the potential to take things like Lulu into the solo lane where she has been more prominent. Certainly Lulu solo lane being more common than Soraka, with the exception at the start of the season. But I like her into the composition. Maybe not into the mid lane though. Orianna does feel like she's going to have an advantage in that lane, and Hecarim certainly is going to have the damage to take advantage of how squishy she is in the early game.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like the later we get, and talk about just how late games in general want to play out.
Mhm.
We're gonna have side laning Soraka or side laning Zaya. Either one, or if they want to maintain and generate the same amount of gold and XP that they should be able to if they had a standard mid laner, for example, right? Um,
Mhm.
by sending either a Soraka or a Zaya to the side lane, yes, your Zaya is going to be slightly better off in the side lane, but she's going to need to have ultimate and she's going to need flash if she wants to get away from side lane engages from Hecarim. If you send Soraka down to the side lane, she's probably just going to die if she gets collapsed on by more than one person. So the later the game goes, it feels like Alpha really are going to have to be on top of their vision game as well as their lane assignments because it's going to be really difficult for them. I think Active Rush have just sort of hard won this draft, unfortunately for Alpha, but we'll have to see if Alpha have got something up their sleeves that we don't know about, some dark technology about this comp.
Yeah, certainly in terms of standard gameplay, I give the advantage to Active Rush. I love seeing the dark tech though, and my prayers go with Omega Gaming Alpha. We are going to take a very short break as we pop in and let the spectator delay tick down, and after that we'll end up seeing how these different playstyles go against each other and whether Rapid Fire is able to take his team all the way to the finish line. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our first game here of the Focus Propel Series playoffs. This is going to be Omega Gaming Alpha versus Active Rush. Omega Gaming Alpha gracing us from the bottom side of the map, the blue side, and Active Rush on the red side with the much more standard draft, as we discussed going into this game.
Yeah, definitely Active Rush have the, for me at least, draft advantage going on, and my eyes for me are going to be on this Soraka mid pick, because if this mid laner was something else, something like Cassio, for example, a Victor, a Vel'Koz, and anything essentially an Azir maybe, I'd be looking at this going, yeah, maybe we're at about 50-50, but this Soraka really has thrown a spanner in the works for me and my opinion. So we'll have to see how the game goes out, and see if Omega Gaming Alpha can pull through with this, really protect the ADC style comp that they've drafted for themselves.
Yeah, and Soraka is going to be something that maybe Active Rush also haven't necessarily practiced against as much because this is such an uncommon pick. Having Soraka be there with all of those levels available to her is actually going to throw kind of a wrench in what you expect the power curve of a Soraka to be throughout the game.
Yeah, and I think if I can talk about the Soraka lane quickly, and this is just experience from bot side or from playing against its support. Soraka has some quite nice AP ratios early on. She definitely has the same style of poke that Karma does with those Qs that you see coming down. Also the E. There was a time in bot lane meta where Soraka supports would just put 3 points into E with Scorch and essentially 1v1 AD carries because of the amount of damage that did. And we see just little trades back and forth in the mid lane right now with Pride's just throwing down those Starfalls, connecting onto Orianna, trying to assert a little bit of dominance early on because the later this game goes, the harder the trades in the mid lane in isolation will be harder for him.
Yeah, and actually, as somebody who enjoys a little bit of Soraka solo lane myself, I enjoy the
Oh,
pain that it causes other people. Those star callers are going to be the name of the game, especially early on in these levels when Oriana can sort of poke you out, walk you down. Landing star callers is going to just keep you in the game for so long that you can sort of outlast your opponent, especially because she has that Doran's ring and is going to be able to sustain up. I'm looking for her to just out, out pressure. Ooh, little trade, nice route there from Rapid Fire with the Zaya mechanics. But I'm looking for her to out trade and just sort of out sustain this Oriana, force early backs and early resets, for which the teleport will really come in handy.
yeah, and we can already see in the mid lane, really nice mana advantage going the way of Soraka, but it looks like actually Nightfan has got a cheater recall off. For those that don't know, it is going to be one of those where you push. Well, you start stacking the first two waves, and then as soon as the third wave comes in, you hard shove it, the cannon wave, get it under the turret, and you essentially try to make the enemy mid laner unable to get a recall in so that you have an advantageous buy. I think it went slightly awry in the mid lane because he is probably going to miss a bit of XP in the mid lane. Looks like probably a few melee minions, but he's got himself, or Nightfan has got himself a recall, got himself a Dark Seal, and it's going to be slightly ahead in this lane. Well, barring the 3 minion disadvantage that I think he'll be at.
Yeah, and Soraka is certainly not able to farm nearly as easily. With those bananas does make it really hard to see us unless you're really experienced in the matchup. But on the bot side, we actually see Oxy and Rapid Fire being able to assert some nice lane dominance. They have been pushed up quite a bit. And I think that's entirely purposeful. That's not them mismanaging their wave. That is them actively trying to push in. Is big trade on the top side. Candyman Prim actually gets quite low there.
Yeah, this Silas, but engage bot.
Ooh, nice hook onto Braum. Now he's going to put the shield up, and looks like it's just going to be a trade back and forth as they burn that E cooldown. I'm not looking for much more, but I think bot lane should get a little bit more action, especially once Hecarim resets. They should look to punish this what could be an overextension from Rapid Fire and Oxy.
Yeah, and talk about Hecarim, camera just pans it on the top side. Rutledge's Beast is pushed in this wave, has crashed,
Yeah.
Pure Acid is ready.
And he has the Ignite to activate under the tower here. Does start taking aggro, and that should be Candyman Prim falling quite easily for first blood. Really nice dive from them there. Candyman will be able to secure a little bit more CS under the tower, and Ritual's Beast will get out with his life.
Yeah, really nice dive up on the top side. Nice timing from iPure Acid there. Recognises the opportunity that he had to go for, and there was nothing really too much to that dive. Just really well executed, devastating charge. Ignite went down, not leaving anything to chance. Candyman Prim didn't stand much of a chance. Got himself the wave under the turret and has TP'd back afterwards. But with that dive going on, it looks like Alpha are responding with a Drake of their own right here. It looks like the mountain going to go fairly uncontested. BT Nelson just walks in to spot it out, but not a lot more going to happen other than that.
And being able to deny something like the Mountain Drake, especially into what'll be a pretty one-dimensional damage profile from the Zaya, is going to feel really nice. Virtual's going for a little bit of a trade, has a nice item in his back pocket there, and certainly will be doing a little bit more damage than the Scion at this point, so we'll feel comfortable taking those trades.
Yeah, and the Scion opting for an early cloth armor as well, something that in this particular matchup won't be doing him too much. Won't be doing too much for him. Would have liked to seen maybe the catalyst into an abyssal mask or something with more magic resist in the build coming through. Especially when there's an Orianna on the side as well. You're not just having to itemize against one AP user. There are two on the map, so the cloth armor not going to do too much for him at the minute. Maybe preempting a lot more pressure from the Hecarim, but either way. Definite item advantage for Rutledge on the top side, so going to be a rough lane for the Scion.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned the Orianna as well, it just brings my attention back to the CS in that lane, and it's what we talked about earlier, where nice hook onto the Braum here. Again, should be able to put up the Unbreakable and walk this one out. They actually do execute a nice little freeze here, but looks like they have no interest in keeping that one as Featherstorm, or not Featherstorm. The Feathers are going to come out from Xayah to clear this out, and maybe looking to push out again. They should know that Hecarim's on the bottom side of the map, though.
Exactly, and when their Lee Sin is up on the top side as well, they have no purpose, no reason to be pushing this lane. There's no neutral objective to fight for. There's nothing really spurring them out of their lane, out of the turret range, essentially. So they are just going to sit and last hit these minions, keep the wave in a decent position for them. Obviously, VT Nelson and Harry Augie here have the confidence to just walk up because they know exactly where their jungler is. IPR Acid is just taken the Raptor camp away from Humby here, so knows that Lee Sin isn't on the bot side, hasn't been for a while in fact, so they're pretty much free reign of running up, especially with the wards in the river, ward in the tri-brush as well. There's really unlimited safety at the minute for this active rush bot lane.
Yeah, it's going to feel really nice for them, especially because they're relying on them to get them into the later stages. Aren't going to find a lot of advantages into Nelson and Augie, who have quite a safe lane and a lot of tankiness. So as long as they're able to keep their CS numbers up, I think this is going to be the big determiner. And in the mid lane, Soraka being able to get those levels is really the only thing that's keeping that together. It looks like Humby could look for something here, though. Is going to land the Q, but I don't think he'll take it onto the Hecarim there. Does have the devastating charge up, and doesn't want to put himself in that position.
No, exactly, and I'm pretty sure that Hecarim has the same sort of interaction with the E as Rek'Sai with Umboro does, that if your E is on and you just walk around A clicking, you just interrupt the Lee Sin charge originally, so that's going to be nice. Could be a gank here in the mid lane though.
Yeah, looks like Prize is in a little bit of danger. Has to flash the shockwave there. Will get himself out though. Nice play from Prize, recognizing that he was actually in quite a bit of trouble if that Hecarim had been able to see him for the duration.
Yeah, and looks like an ultimate or back up to the top side of the map just from Rutledge's Beast as we tried to roam mid, but you know, back on that mid play, so often you'll see people not respect the potential damage that would be coming through. Pride's not falling victim to that, acknowledges the shockwave is coming through and dodges that and the onslaught of shadows. So 2 ultimates used, expended from Active Rush, and only the flash burn from Pride. Yes, it's a big cooldown, and yes, they'll be able to rinse and repeat in about 2 minutes time if Pride's oversteps again, but within these 2 minutes there is a window for Alpha to maybe make something happen around the map.
Yeah, and if Prize can continue absorbing ganks like that, it does really play to exactly what Soraka mid wants to do, or Soraka in any solo lane, which is absorb pressure. Looks like Oxy gonna get hooked again though, has the Unbreakable, but it's taking a lot of damage, and a nice wish from the Soraka will keep him up. Looks like Rapid Fire is looking to trade back onto the Ezreal, but he does not have enough damage. Just trying to trade onto VT Nelson. Lee Sin, Orianna are here though. It shouldn't amount to just anything, as they will spot each other out, never be able to retreat, but Rapid Fire gonna get hooked, gonna use the Featherstorm to get out of any of that damage, and it looks like we have a trade on the top side, but all should be well on the bot side as Orianna just checks in, makes sure everything is fine and dandy, and VT Nelson is going to be landing any more crazy hooks.
Yeah, nothing. Oh, this is just going to be a quick charge and a quick escape from Pure Acid, but yeah, nothing actually occurring in terms of kills gained or lost. Oxy came very close to falling there. The heal from Rapid Fire kept him alive, and the flash as well. Got himself to safety, but these bot lane fights not going either way so far. You'd say Active Rush got the slight advantage because they've been able to stay in the lane, been able to push it out, but no gold, no kill gold going either way. See a silence here. Humby could go for a play here. Has flash, has ultimate.
Yeah, it looks like he's looking for it, just tanking the Raptors over the wall there, but I don't think they'll be able to find anything. And actually, I also wanted to draw our attention to the fact that yes, they get to stay in lane longer, and they also conserve their flashes, which is something that at least Oxy doesn't have the... Okay, very nice getaway from Humby there. We'll just get him onto the dragon. They should know this is happening, though.
Yeah, but with the bot lane resetting,
the top lane.
Harry and VT Nelson aren't here. This is a 2v4 right now. If they can at least get the Drake, and if Active Rush tried to take a fight, they wouldn't be able to. So actually, really great timing again from Alpha, capitalizing on these bases. You know, the first Drake that they got was because of a top lane gank from Pure Acid. The second Drake was off of the back of a recall from Harry and VT Nelson. So Alpha playing this macro game pretty well, acknowledging when they can and can't go for the Drakes, and they've got themselves an early 2 Drake lead here.
Yeah, and they're 2 impactful Drakes as well. With the third Drake, for those of you who watched the last series, not going to be Cloud this time. We are going to get a little bit more action on our map here. And actually, we'll have the Infernal Soul up next, which will do wonders for both sides, honestly.
Yeah, and we talked about how Alpha is a one-threat comp. Essentially, as we go into the late game, the Infernal Soul on all of these champions is going to make a ton of difference. Just going to add a little bit of damage to everybody's kit, which is something that they really do need as the later stages of the game do play out. So Infernal Soul is something that is really important for Alpha in this particular game, and obviously, Silas, Hecarim, Orianna, and Ezreal, they're going to benefit no end from the Infernal Soul, as well as maybe a little engagement here. Doesn't look like it's going to amount to anything. Just gonna keep neutral lane states at the moment.
Yeah, bot lane is where we're seeing a lot of these a little bit more volatile trades here. Top lane trades haven't been amounting to too much, except for when it did culminate in that turret dive. And of course, mid, not going to be the source that we look to for a lot of action. And so actually drafting things like the Sion and the Xayah, who are able to absorb pressure in the side lanes quite well, should keep this game even until Omega feel like they can be pressing their go buttons.
Yeah, it definitely is that. That is the case, and if we take a quick stock of the gold share right now, we're about a 1,700 gold deficit for Omega Gaming Alpha. I'm pretty sure if we just toggle the gold right here, that the majority of that, like 1,000 of it, is sat in the mid lane, and that is just from out CSing from Nightfan. Pride hasn't had the ability to push up, get all the farm that he needs to, or he really has been running this lane post level 5 essentially. With that priority in the mid lane as well. Roams up, get themselves the Herald as well. So definitely some advantages already for Active Rush. Nothing that has snowballed the game out of control yet. Well, this could be a 5.
Like we're getting a trade. VT Nelson extending a little bit too far. He's going to get rooted up and knocked up there as the double knockup comes in under rapid fire. But now Harryagi is in the middle of everybody, and Sion is trying to finish off the kill onto the Nautilus. Will actually pick it up, and Xayah will be able to grab the kill onto the Ezreal as well, as a little bit too much greed for that ward, honestly, costs the bot lane their lives.
Yeah, really nice TP from Candyman Prim came down, acknowledged that he had the TP advantage. Rutledge had previously TP'd, I assume, up onto the top lane. And they get 2 kills there. It looks like Active Rush are going to trade this back, likely going to get the first turret of the game back here on the top side, which is essentially going to even out all of the gold that Omega Gaming Alpha just got. But that is, it's going to be another charge maybe on this top side, unless Candyman Prim can help out, but the gold injection is going to be really nice.
And he shouldn't be able to be dove at this point, and I really like the response from Active Rush here, knowing that the teleport was expended from the side, that they had no pressure in that top lane. We're able to create something that actually gets... how are you saying this name?
Rutledge. Rutledge is beast.
Rutledge, Jesus. That actually gets Rutledge a decent gold lead, up just a little bit of farm, but actually quite a lot once you think about how much that first brick means onto both him and the Hecarim, especially as we get the Hecarim closer to the Trinity boards.
Yeah, he's opted to go for the completed Cinderhulk first of all, something that isn't atypical by any means, but you can definitely make an argument for skipping your Cinderhulk enchantment just to reach that Trinity Force even earlier because of how expensive it is. And this little fight, that's not even a fight, that's just Rutledge saying hello, using the Sion ultimate before it went off of cooldown, and making his presence felt even just a little bit in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, now that he has broken that top lane turret, we'll be able to rotate into the mid lane and sort of around the map even, being able to swap out with bot if he wants to put them in the mid lane instead. And now that the map's opened up, it's where we get to see these teams and how they choose to play those side lanes, like you mentioned, with, are we putting a Soraka in a side lane, or are we putting Sion? Whereas the Xayah going, is this, a 4-1 comp? And I think that those questions and how they sort of play out in response to what we have acknowledged is a much stronger standard draft from Active Rush. How Omega Gaming plays this mid game is going to tell us a lot about how far we get in this series. It looks like another Dragon's coming up in 5.
Yeah, exactly. I think that how Alpha want to play this comp is just Death Ball, really pile onto rapid fire, and this is going to be our first big fight of the game. I think the Atropa, 5 people from each side down on this bot side of the map. Dragon alive, Infernal Drake, first one of the game, and Neither of these teams willing to give it up. It looks like Candyman Prim is posturing in front of the team. So, good positioning set up. Looks like, though, the Active Rush just backing off a little bit. They have control over mid lane, and this flank from VT Nelson could be huge.
Importantly, the mid priority, but it looks like they're going to be collapsing onto the flank here as they're going to try to take down VT, but they don't actually get him in time. Now Pure Acid is in the front, but Rapid Fire untouched in the back so far. Ezreal is going to jump on him. The Featherstorm comes out. He's still alive, just dealing with the Hecarim. His Blink Color does a bunch of damage here, and Rutledge's Beast isn't able to actually find him. There does flash out of the tower, but Xayah not able to do enough damage just yet, as she's going to be moving away from the fight and convincingly won so far. From the side of Active Rush, Xayah just sitting on the Essence Reaver, isn't able to pump out the damage that they need her to.
No, absolutely huge depth charge from VT Nelson. Sets a 4-man knock-up into a 4-man onslaught of shadows. So we do have a quick pause here. Looks like Nightfan has disconnected, but that wombo combo in the jungle there around that tri-bush was absolutely nasty from Active Rush. And the fact that there wasn't a clean ace surprises me. But either way, it was a nice engage from these Active Rush players. Pure Acid came over the top. If I had to criticize a little bit, it'd be that Nightfan's Shockwave didn't come through immediately, because it felt like if that was fully synergized, and the Featherstorm wasn't able to be called, then that would have been incredible. Would have been the ultimate play, for example. But either way, they're going to be happy with 4 kills and the Infernal Drake. They're going to assert their dominance hard here, and at this point in the game, Rapid Fire just doesn't have the damage. He has 1 completed item, and there's just no damage from the rest of the team anymore. Lee Sin has the Warrior Enchant, yes, got a nice 2-man knock-up, but he was just caught in the CC. He just died immediately. There was nothing really that the Alpha could do, unfortunately.
Yeah, and fighting in those chokes like that against something like Orianna Nautilus is going to be really rough, even when you aren't able to, or especially when you aren't able to kill the flanking Nautilus. The flanking support is somebody who should go down in a scenario like that. If you can't delete him instantly, is going to be really difficult for the team, especially when your Xayah is going to be forced to play on the back foot against just the positioning of a ball over the wall from Orianna.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason that Nelson didn't go down there was in no part due to the aftershock. As soon as he just pressed R on somebody, he gained a ton of resist, pressed the W as well to relieve himself of some incoming damage with the shield that he has. And with the aftershock through, the damage wasn't there to burst through him. And with, like I say, the lack of damage that Alpha have drafted, it really is going to become increasingly more difficult for these guys to really do anything here. I feel like that team fight needed to go the way of Alpha if they would stand really any chance, because I feel like now Active Rush are just going to be able to run over them.
Yeah, they have found themselves a really nice advantage with those 4 kills and the Drake. It looks like the unpause should be coming for us soon, as Nightfan has reconnected. And I'll be pausing at the 17-minute mark, if that sounds good with you.
Yeah, we'll hit that little pause quickly at 17 minutes. And for all the guys at home, we have to hit this pause because as soon as a slight interruption like this occurs, casters can come out of sync. Me and Diatripa will be casting from different perspectives, and obviously we don't want that for you guys. So what we're going to do, just take a quick pause, let the game buffer out a little bit more, and then take it away. I'll say, if you are ready, we will unpause. And count down on 3, 2, 1, unpause.
Alright, perfect. Nightfan just looks like he's looking for a back here, as Spectator Cam has decided that after that, we really need a break from the action, especially after Omega Gaming Alpha was put on the back foot. Rapid Fire also recognizing that it needs to pick up a significant amount more gold before they take the next fight, and I think that we need to see that in their lane assignments and the way that they play around, having things like the Braum Soraka around him to keep him safe so that he can push out and get that farm against the rather large threat of things like Hecarim and Orianna.
Yeah, there's just so many things that are going to be coming at Rapid Fire this game. There's essentially 3 dive champions, along with an Orianna who is going to be able to provide a lot of enabling factors with the Shockwave, with the ball being on top of Acid, on top of Rutledge, on top of Nelson. There's a lot of access for the Orianna into the backline, and obviously Ezreal with the True Shot Barrage can be anywhere on the map before he finds something, and Humby might be a little caught here.
Oh yeah, Humby overextending just a little bit is going to be shut down in the way that they wish they could have taken out VT Nelson previously. That should be Rift Herald if they desire it, but more importantly is going to be the jungle of Omega Gaming Alpha being denied to them, and being denied that vision as well, as they as Active Rush is actually controlling the map quite nicely.
Yeah, they've really got the run of the game right here. Yet to break the mid lane tier 1, which is their really the only thing that's keeping Alpha in a position to maybe even contest anything here. You know, you see two members are able to try and walk up and take this tier 2 top, but with the tier 1 mid still standing, it's quite difficult for Active Rush to find vision in the enemy jungle. Hasn't stopped them though. They are significantly far ahead, and they've got 2 control wards on the top side. And a little engage onto Candyman here.
Yeah, looks like he's going to find the knock up here, and he's going to be tanking it quite a bit. Rapid Fire hasn't joined the fight yet, and it looks like Orion and Ezreal are going to be able to be hitting to their heart's content, as now Rapid Fire is going to be CC'd up, just not able to do anything. We talk about him being the only damage on his team, and he's just not able to hit anyone.
Now, looks like the Scion passive isn't going to quite take out Nightfan. You know, blinking health bars once again from Active Rush just on the... Well, really just on Nightfan and Pure Acid taken below half, but Rapid Fire still not at that 2-item mark yet, still not got 3 critical strike items. He's still quite a ways away off of it. Yes, he hasn't died, and yes, he's positioning fairly well in these team fights, but the thing that Active Rush have going in their favour is they don't need to commit big ultimate, big cooldowns to kill Hornby, to kill Candyman. They just need to save these cooldowns in order to catch out the Xayah. And it was a great example of it right there from Acid. Waited for Xayah to show herself and then immediately Onslaught of Shadows into the backline. Caused some disruption, caused some mayhem for the Xayah to shut her down. Because at this stage of the game, the base abilities, so just your basic 3 abilities from Sylas, from Hecarim, from Orianna, they're going to be doing so much more than a Sion, Lee Sin, and a Soraka. They don't need to expend the ultimates to win these fights anymore.
Yeah, and we saw again that Omega Gaming Alpha opting into a fight in the choke. Candyman Prim getting caught out with a little bit of a greedy rotation into the mid lane. They still lose their mid lane tower after that fight as well, denying them the ability to continue to contest objectives in the way they had before. As it looks like now Omega Gaming Alpha just trying to reclaim vision of their own jungle.
Yeah, that's all they can do. They need to set up the vision line. And they need to set up the entrances to their own jungle. They can't really be extending into the river particularly. You know, if I just toggle the vision real quick here, I'll look on the top side of the map. They've got these wards here that are basically what they're going to need throughout the course of this game. And they're going to need a couple more coming down, just setting up so that they know exactly where the wards of Active Rush have been placed, so that they can spot out where VT Nelson walks in and places these wards, and where they know that they are and where they aren't safe.
Yeah, now just as I'm looking at the farm on both sides, obviously the Soraka is going to be down significantly. Fortunately, Xayah is ahead 30 CS or so, and with the Athenes picked up, looks like we're going to get a redemption from the Soraka as one might expect with the support items that she's going to pick up. But once we look at those farm differences and extrapolate them to the gold, what once was a 1k gold lead has turned into what looks like almost a 7k gold lead.
Yeah, and then not to mention the fact that there are 7 extra kills, 2 extra turrets as well going the way of Active Rush right now. And you touched quickly on the mid lane build path. I want to sort of mention that I would have much rather preferred an Ardent Sensor here to come out for the Soraka.
Thank you.
Because yes, Redemption is a really strong support item, but I feel like it provides much more to you when you have a team of carries and not just one Xayah that you're trying to buff up. Not only is Ardent Sensor great at buffing up one carry, it's great at buffing up an AD carry who wants to scale and do hyper amounts of damage in the late game. Ardent Sensor for me here would have done so much more. The Redemption onto your front line probably isn't as important as enabling your Xayah would have been with this Ardent Sensor, and I don't think Alpha can contest this. Maybe if Hunby goes for a steal, but he'd be trading his life for it. I don't want to see a fight here.
Yeah, it would be kind of hard-ending to contest this, I think. I do want to see Omega Gaming Alpha being able to try and play this slow, as it looks like Hunby is going to be forced to flash out here. He's going to be caught by the Hecarim, however, and now Nelson with another beautiful depth charge is going to catch Rapid Fire, and now just trying to get away from the, Sylas, who has become a train and jumped on top of him there. They're trapped under their mid-tier 1, and their own Sion is ulting to get away. They have no front line here, and Candyman Prim will be able to walk down and join them. But just losing Lee Sin's life there loses them even more pressure than they already didn't have, which sounds really bad, because it is. This is not the position that you want to be in as Omega Gaming Alpha, where you need more time to scale, and yet you're sitting around these Infernal Drakes just watching them go down. I'd rather them just be farming somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if they just concede the Drake there and take another couple of waves in all, if they take 2 more waves in all of the lanes there, The gold gap, yes, it's still going to be quite huge, but it isn't 9,000. Maybe they take it down to 8 or 8.5 or something like that. We're talking about very small amounts of gold that they're picking up, but all of the gold is important right now. The sooner Rapid Fire gets to his core item set, the sooner they can maybe look to start winning team fights. And I'm looking now at the front line of Omega Gaming Alpha, and I'm thinking, yes, Sion is a strong frontline champion, but I look at Ezreal and I look at him with nearly two completed items rather. He's got the makings of an Iceborne and an Executioner's Calling as well. This could be a fight here, though. I might have to wait.
Yeah, it looks like Acid is trying to take down the mid lane tower, but Orianna just goes for it. Huge shockwave onto the front line there. Is going to take down Hunby in the end, as now Rapid Fire is trying to find that Blade Caller and takes Night Fan surprisingly low, but nothing's going to come of that as they have the ability to just walk away. No more force able to come out from Omega Gaming Alpha.
Yeah, this Death Brush might be quite deadly here.
Oh god.
Active Rush. Omega Gaming don't look like they're going to check it. Here comes Rutledge.
Yeah, looks like Candyman Prim is going to be the sacrificial lamb here as VT Nelson's going to secure himself a little bit of kill participation, but nothing else, as he'll be able to root him up and walk away here. That should certainly be Baron going over to the side of Active Rush here, as Omega Gaming Alpha, with no vision even in their topside jungle, can't even walk up to contest.
No, I mean, they just have to concede this, unfortunately, and at this point in the game, they can't fight for anything for a really long time. It kind of feels really bad. Active Rush have just outscaled them essentially, and we're only sort of 25 minutes into the game. The composition that Alpha had drafted relied heavily on getting Rapid Fire ahead, relied heavily on using Lee Sin as well, which is something that we didn't really touch on particularly, but this Lee Sin hasn't made any impact whatsoever. Currently 0-5-0. Has been great at securing the neutral objectives early on, but didn't find any success in terms of ganking, in terms of getting kills onto his carries. Carry in this game. Rapid Fire has done his best in these team fights. Slight misexecution errors here and there from Alpha in the team fights as well, but overall it really just feels like Active Rush have got this game locked and sealed, and you kind of have to think, how do we do better for game number 2?
Yeah, if you are picking something like the Lee Sin especially, getting that early kill participation is going to be super important, and it looks like they just weren't able to find it. That being said, with something like a Xayah hyper carry sort of comp, late game is something that always is a possibility. We are at 26 minutes, and it is going to be reliant on Active Rush to actually crack the base here, which is going to be much harder now that we can rotate reliably. We have 2 Infernal Drakes left until Soul, which is really where the problems start rolling in, as it looks like Hunby going to be looking to punish this Sylas up here. Follow-up ult from the Scion will find him, and now teleport being channeled, and a little bit of a mixed call there, as it looked like Hunby was trying to back away, but they will actually find the Orianna there. Teleport straight into the silence from the Soraka and will be taken down, but is it at the cost of their base, as it looks like we have a huge push in the mid lane. Oxy trying to do his best to keep the tower up, as they might have found VT Nelson, but in the meantime, Hecarim taking their mid lane, or their bot lane inhibitor, and a huge death charge from VT Nelson. Harry is able to do so much damage, and finally Rapid Fire is able to find the shutdown. They're now sitting at 3-0-1. That's a lot of extension, but so much being taken from the base of Omega Gaming Alpha that I think that even with those kills, you walk away happy as Active Rush.
Yeah, you definitely do. It's nice that Alpha get the cash injection onto Rapid Fire. That's where they want their kills to go. It's where they need all of the money to be, but at this stage, when you lose 2 inhibitors, you're now going to likely lose another dragon. Maybe Alpha go and contest this here. They have TP on Candyman Prim, and they have a numbers advantage for about 5 seconds. This is probably their best avenue to try and fight for something, but it's going to be really hard even if they try, because they're not in position. There's going to be super minions pouring into their base. It looks like once again it's going to be on Hunby. If he wants to go for a steal, he can go for it, but I would not like to see a fight.
Yeah, I just hope this isn't another one of those 50-50s where we sit around and just watch Dragon go down, because you still need gold, and if you are going to be able to find it here, looks like Blade Caller is going to be channeled from the Xayah now, able to root up the Orianna, almost takes her down, as Lee Sin will be able to secure the kill there. Orianna trading her life for the Brahms, as now Hunby is trying to get away here. Pure Acid does jump onto him. There is a beautiful hook from VT Nelson. Might cost Rapid Fire his life. Does get another Blade Collar, but will be taken down by Harry Augie. And now there is no more damage on the side of Omega Gaming Alpha, and they should just be able to walk this one in. As, oh, there goes Soraka, and it is not looking good. We already have Hecarim and Ezreal on the mid lane inhibitor, and soon to be on the Nexus turrets themselves.
Yeah, this is just going to be the end of game number 1, I feel. Rutledge just takes down the final kill onto Candyman Prim, and as you mentioned, with Xayah down, no damage, she's going to be able to come through from Alpha. Just Lee Sin and Braum trying to defend against 4 members of Active Rush here. The Nexus is going to fall. That's going to be game 1, going the way of Active Rush.
Yeah, and 28 minutes in a victory is a relatively short game. That being said, though, we did see Xayah almost starting to crash that item breakpoint. Had picked up the double crit item plus the rapid fire cannon. Definitely was at the point where she was starting to put out those big damage numbers that they would actually need to turn the game around. And actually, I wonder as I check in here, no actual ardent sensor completed yet for Prides. I'm going to give benefit of the doubt and assume that it was coming, but Xayah was starting to turn that around, and it is something that I think that they can look to play through on Rapid Fire as long as they can make calls as a team a little bit better. Because I felt like this game, it was so much about them just not making the right calls for where their power spikes were, as opposed to the actual strategy being flawed.
Yeah, definitely. It all swung around that first Infernal Drake, right? There was like it was 2-1. Either side could still take it, and it was just that one team fight. As soon as Active Rush took that 4-0 with the huge depth charge from VT Nelson and the wombo combo that ensued after that, it all just snowballed out of control. And yes, Rapid Fire looked like there was a world where he could maybe get back into it, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to do so.
And I wonder how they adapt to this in game too, because it is something that, like I mentioned, I think that you can look to rapid fire to be this kind of person on your team, and it's whether their execution is there. And so I wonder if they go for this again, or if they decide, you know what, that didn't work. Let's go back to something tried and true, get a more standard comp going, and see how we can actually pull that perhaps victory out in game 2 to take this to 3 games and make it a competitive series.
Yeah, I think playing through rapid fire is something that we know that Alpha are comfortable with, and I feel like the issue in this particular game is that the comp allowed them to do that, but it allowed them to only do that. I feel like if they
Mhm.
enable prides a little bit more, maybe, or just put something somewhere, maybe they could have drafted and enabled the Xayah comp even better, because I feel like the Lee Sin really didn't provide anything. So maybe if they like run this comp, but they have a Nunu in the front line that can provide attack speed, there's plenty of things that Alpha can do here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they choose to adapt and whether they choose to adapt, given the conviction with which we saw them go for this composition. It is all up in the air, though. We don't have any particular insights into these teams, and I'm looking forward to game 2. I'm gonna throw it to you, dude, and then you can take us to a break as we prepare for game 2.
Yeah, of course. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be the end of game number 1. We're going to throw it to a short intermission as we load up into game number 2. Get that pro draft locked and loaded, ready for you guys. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back.